Hello and welcome to another episode of the eReads podcast, my podcast where I talk about books, wellness, and creativity with friends and all those who are interested in improving their craft through combining the benefits of wellness and creativity. And you may be saying like, well, eReads podcast, we're on Liz Bullard Writes on Instagram. And this is where I am going to record the podcast before putting it out there for distribution. So last week, you might have remembered, we talked with the amazing Kara M. Zone, who is a coach and fellow author. And we talked about time management. And what I learned from that is if I record on Instagram and then place it on Substack, it is much easier and sustainable. So we are trying this now. And so if you are listening on your favorite podcast listening platform and you want to be a part of the live conversation, come on over to Instagram and give me a follow. You'll have all the updates on what is coming and when. I have my lovely guest today, J.S. Tazwell, who is here in the comments. So I'm going to do my announcements before I bring her up because we are talking about writing sequels, which can feel so intimidating. But before then, let me give you my announcements. And if you have a fun word or phrase that we could call this segment, let me know in the comments. So announcements are, I just added on my link page, if you have a product, service, book, something that you would like announced on the podcast, become a sponsor. It is $5 as of right now, my introductory price. So if you have something that you want announced to the world, go become a sponsor, and the next live taping, it will be announced and the link will go on the episode page. So that's all I have for now. And I'm going to bring up J.S. Tazwell. Let me see. Oh no, why is it not letting me bring you up? Let me see. Oh, yeah. Okay. Yay!
Okay. Hi.
Hello! With your lovely book in the background. Oh, I love it.
Thank you. Thank you. Hi, guys.
Awesome.
I'm so happy
Yes,
to be here.
please.
Thanks for having me.
Yes, please introduce yourself, my friend.
I'm J.S. Tazwell. My debut novel is Love Me Through the Grief, and my upcoming sequel is Love Me Through the Storm. I am a mom, author, former publisher, editor, and chronic overthinker, and I am so excited just to share what that, I feel like a lot of us creatives are, and just
Yes.
what this process has been like with book 2 today. That's amazing.
Absolutely. And I love that you say chronic overthinker because I think there's this misconception that, oh, you wrote the first book, the rest are easy. But
Oh, yeah.
there's still that level of anxiety that comes every time you put something out into the world. It may not feel as intense, but there's definitely a little bit of pressure. And a little introduction. I just saw a video. I think it was Rebecca Yaros, and she was talking about how her first book, is it Iron Flame? That one, it just came out. Now I'm gonna get her books all messed up, y'all, but you know what I'm talking about.
It's okay. It's okay.
Fourth Wing, that one,
Fourth
that one.
Wing, and then Iron Flame, and then Onyx Storm. Yes, ma'am.
See, listen, this is why I have friends, okay? But she was talking about how with the first book, it just poured out and, had the publisher and it just flowed. But then for the next book, there was this pressure that almost felt paralyzing. And
Yeah.
I think that's important as we talk about sequels, and so one, how are you doing? How's your process going? Any updates for us?
So I think that what Rebecca Yarrow said is true for all of us. Once you put out book 2, you start getting reviews, and it doesn't matter how many reviews I think that you get, but there's one comment that will come up and it's, I can't wait for book 2. And so with that excitement comes natural pressure. And when you are a creative, you don't want to let people down. You're also probably a perfectionist. That comes with the territory. I'm not saying all creatives are, but that has been my experience. And so when you have high creative output for so long, because I totally felt like I was hyper focused. Book 1 flowed, and it just was like constant, constant, constant. And then you have I had the Kickstarter, then the launch, then you're doing social media, then you have all these
Yeah.
events, and then you burn out.
Mm-hmm.
And I had immediately started book two before the chaos of the launch. And then I just went into a
Okay.
slump, just a total slump, because what I've learned, and I think is really, really important for us to reframe writing slumps, is that it's not a failure or something that I've done wrong. It is my nervous system telling me, hey, slow down. We're not going at this pace right now. So, and they're necessary because life is also happening. It's not like all we do is book stuff all day. We also have our own personal stressors,
Yes.
things like that. And like right before the release of book one over the summer, my husband had a heart attack
Mm.
and was in the hospital multiple times. And I was like, oh my gosh. And I have
Right.
two boys that are young with, my youngest has ADHD. I have ADHD, and we're all just getting overstimulated and dysregulated.
Yep.
And so it's like when life keeps happening,
Mm-hmm.
we need forgiveness and to listen to ourselves and our bodies, and it,
Yes.
it comes back. Like, I've gone through the draft of book two. It's happened and it's happening, and we're going to keep working on it. But yeah, I think that reframing slumps is so important to keep our
Mm-hmm.
mentality healthy and our um, feelings towards ourselves just, up there, like,
What 1000%. And I really want to go back to what you said about reframing slumps. And so, for those who may not know, like reframing, it's just like looking at something differently rather than looking at it as like, I'm bad, I've lost my creativity, I'm not going to do this, I'm not supposed to do this. Looking at it as like your body calling you out to like, you may be doing too much. You haven't given yourself rest. You haven't given yourself time to celebrate. You've been too productive. And that can really help you feel more empowered and take control of your writing craft. Because if you think of every slump as a confirmation of a failure or imposter syndrome, at some point you're going to stop because you're going to start to feel very anxious when the words aren't coming, and that's just going to happen. Like if there's a day you're exhausted or going through life, as JS has said, like yeah, like there's no room to write because there's other parts of you needing that brain power. Absolutely. And thank you. We have some comments and folks that are in the chat. um we have Roland who says, good, first of all, hello, and the good wisdom, reframing slumps and what that means to us is so important, so very important. And if you can, or if you want to, like, what was that journey like for you? Like, did you immediately go in and say, like, oh, I know what the slump means? Like, what was that journey like for you?
it felt awful, to be completely
Mm.
candid. Like, I was like, and I had this big plan, and when we make plans and they don't follow through, like, it's devastating sometimes, because I was like, oh,
1000%.
I'm like, okay, this summer has been really tough. I'm going to focus on book one. I can't write book two right now. I can't continue on it. That's okay, because my kids are going to be back in school in the fall and it's going to be great. And then they kept getting sick every week. And I was like, why? Why can't I get this, sorted out? Why do things keep happening? And it was
Yeah.
external things preventing it. And then somehow it just started to impact me. And, as silly as it sounds, there are two 3-star reviews on my book and there's no
Oh,
comments.
come
It's just
on.
the stars. And it's like, I'm like,
Yes.
why is it three for these two people? There's not a 2 or a 1-star, but then that's all I could think about. Like, that's all I obsessed about. I'm like, what do I need to do for book two? And they won't even tell me, like, what is going on? And so I
But
actually needed
yeah.
to take those positive reviews and I reread them, and I was like, oh, okay. Okay,
Mm.
these are the people I need to like think about. These are the people that, I'm writing the books for.
But that is a really good point, and I want to stay on reviews for a minute because some people will say write everything and then publish. I'm not of that mentality. One, because it just hasn't been my career, but two, as a person who feeds off of her environment and feedback, I need to know what you're saying about the first book or the sample or things like that. Like it really helps, and
Yeah.
it can also hurt if it's not. we'll say protective, like, like an art group or beta readers, things like that, where like these are your people and the feedback is constructive. When you put your book baby out and there's just all this feedback or just stars, it can start to play on you because you're just like, well, why? What does that mean? And all of these things. And another caveat I'll say to that, because some people are like, don't read your reviews. I think that's great when you have a team, when you maybe are trad and you
Mhm.
have people who are doing that. When you are indie and you are running your business, you need to know what people are saying about it because
Mhm.
that can be very detrimental. And so, kind of, thoughts on that, and how did reviews shape your writing process of book two?
So it really recently motivated me as far as like, wow, there's so much excitement. At first it was, oh my gosh, there's excitement. That means pressure. But now enough time has passed. My nervous system is
Mm.
finally starting to come down from being super heightened and all these things happening. Um, and remembering like, these people are really excited and invested and like we can still continue, like it's about the journey, it's about the community, and so we're going to do this together, and I'm not alone. I have my amazing
Mhm.
editor Derek Moreland, who's already reading it and giving me some kind feedback and some notes that don't devastate me. I'm like, okay, so all the massive things in my head that were wrong with this book are actually not an issue, and the things that are notes that I can improve on are really simple fixes. Okay, nervous system continues to reset and like I'm
And
like,
I want to jump on
okay.
that part because, like, that's why it's so important for feedback. Because sometimes in your head, you see all these little things and you're like, this is wrong. And then when you put it out, that's not even a comma, or sometimes people love that thing. So it's so important to
Mhm.
get outside of your head. I love that call out.
Yeah, and I know with for you, you've done multiple sequels, and so I was just talking to an comic creator friend of mine, D. Hausner, and he literally had the same thing with book two, where it was like took so much longer. It was a much bigger struggle, but once it hit, and then you get it out again like you did with book one, and you got it. Did you have that same pattern and experience with your books for your sequels?
Yeah, great question. So I had two very different experiences for the Prophecy series and the Lira Somers. So for the Prophecy series, I had already had two books by the time book one was out. So I had wrote Portal, which is book two, first.
Mhm.
I thought Portal was going to be book one and kind of do like a prequel, like how we see in comics, like we're in the action and then jump back. But
Mhm.
really, going through the editing process, I was like, you know what? We need to have what happens first, which is New Moon. So by the time New Moon was out there, Portal just needed to be tweaked and edited. So I didn't have that initial pressure because I already had something, and I think that was helpful. Um, Now with Lyra, was a different experience. I had ARC readers for the first time. So I was getting feedback and people were telling me what they were enjoying. They were telling me like, we want to see more of Detective Tomas and we love
I'm
right.
madly in love with him. Like he's one of my book boyfriends for sure. I'm like, ah.
I love that. And for me, I thought many of these characters were going to be one-off characters that we weren't going to see again. And seeing how people loved them, it made it exciting when they were coming up in book two and things like that. And so I think also, like, listening to a lot of these conversations about the pressure that creators put, I knew to kind of look out for that. And I would like know, when I create, I need to be free and have fun. So the words would come. So it was there, but not as much. And again, I had the buffer of knowing that there was people that wanted to get the early reviews and the arc read. And I
Yeah.
knew how critical that was to my process with Lyra. So there were some safeguards. And so in thinking about that, if you're listening and you're like, I'm writing my first book or I just launched, think about what are the safeguards that you need to protect your wellness. Is it you need an art team? Is it that you need to, do what Jess was talking about, thinking about your body and how do you regulate that and how do you challenge those thoughts? But really think about your wellness guide as what does it
Mhm.
look like to put work out into the world and what is it that you need to be okay?
Yeah, and I want to add to that, like, how do you fill your cup? And
Yeah.
when are you like finding time? And I know what it's like to have a jam-packed schedule. It is so critical, especially after managing my own health stuff and then my husband this summer, that I mentioned. It's like it is so crucial to us now that we both take time
Yep.
away from everybody else. And like, I need somewhere quiet and somewhere where there's no sensory input sometimes, because while I feed off of like high sensory things, it can quickly turn around on me and I need it to be quiet. And so finding the
1000%.
right, like what fills your cup, can you take 5 minutes here or 10 minutes there? And what is it that you're doing? And are you accidentally doing something that's triggering a more adrenaline, a trauma response accidentally? Like
Yep.
maybe you're listening to an audio book that has drama or conflict that you're going through, and so maybe it might accidentally bring stuff up and it's supposed to calm you down. Um,
1000%.
Talking to somebody who is a trigger for you might not be a good
Oof.
thing if you're trying to like have some downtime and you take that phone call. Maybe just put it off. If it's an
Mm-hmm.
emergency, they'll call back or they'll send you a text that it's an emergency, because that time, however long you can take, is sacred. It's so sacred, and you need it, because once you refill your cup, then you have the energy for the people you love, yourself, and your creative,
Yeah.
whatever thing it is, whether it's a book or artwork or music, and then you can be really present with it. I think that's really important.
1000%. Really thinking about what pours into your bucket and what dips into your bucket is so important. And as you were talking about that, when I was writing Chasing Nightmares, which is book 2 in the Lira Somers mystery, my mom was having her first knee surgery. It was a year ago. It'd be a year on the 23rd that she's had a fresh knee. She's actually had two, so it was a lot of surgeries this past year. And I remember I was like, in January, I'm going to write this book. I'm going to be done. And I was posting in the beginning of the year about like, okay, I'm writing as a way of accountability. And I'm like, okay, I'm tired. I can't think. The words aren't coming. Yeah, because
Mm-hmm.
you're pouring into the family cup and that's taking your attention. So you don't have enough energy for the creative. It's coming out in little drips. And then when
Mm-hmm.
the routine got more consistent, the words were flowing. And so I think what you were saying about thinking about what drains you is very important. Because if you're just like the words, the creativity, it's not coming, it may just because you're just feeling empty.
Yeah, and
Hmm.
that goes back to listening to our bodies
Yeah.
and not taking it as a negative or a failure when it's not coming, because there is
Right.
a cause, there's a root cause, even if we don't know what it is in the moment, and it's not because we're failing. Um,
Absolutely 1000%.
mhm. And I will say that while we touch on all the stressful things, writing book 2 is still really exciting. Like I would say like book 1 was all about falling in love through healing and grief and all that. At the end of book 1, there is a hint that past trauma is gonna bubble up to the surface. We're
Yeah.
kind of like, oh, this just got brought up. And so book 2 is staying in love through a storm
Oh,
of
so needed.
trauma coming in. Like, yeah, because it's always fun and roses and fairy tales and everything's good in the beginning of a relationship. And my husband and I we've been together 17 years.
Stop. Congrats. I love that.
Thank you. I love him so much, but we've been through storms, like multiple. Like that's just life. Like he's been deployed multiple times, and how did that impact us? I lost my dad. He lost his father. Like we have both. We lost our dog that like we got our first couple of
Oh.
months of getting married, and like that loss was major, and our kids were involved in that process, which is heavy. So there's life
Hmm.
is just not cut and dry. It's not linear. And I think remembering that and
Hmm.
kind of incorporating that into book 2 has been both emotionally draining, because I tend to like forget to put up a wall between me and my characters. I just feel what they feel while
As
I'm
a
writing.
reader, like we kind of don't want you to because like we love it, but as a friend, I'm like, be careful, but
Yeah. And so it's just like, it's still great because it's still putting out there stuff that's really good reminders for anybody, that's gone through it, and knowing that, you are still lovable through the mess. It's okay to be messy, and you still deserve to be loved, because Lucy really struggles with that because she's a mess. She doesn't think that she thinks that Connor deserves better than that, right? So we're going to see
oh,
her struggle with that because she's like, he already had this awful relationship with Amanda. Like, I can't have
right.
that, with her, So I'm sorry, I'm stuttering over my words because I'm like, oh, careful, no spoilers. We do have
I'm
an awesome
telling
question.
you. Absolutely. And like I want to go back into navigating relationships
Yeah.
through storms, but first we'll address this question and then I want more of like the successes and all of that. But we have a question here. It says, are there any practical tips for identifying those things that are draining you? JS, please you take that and then I'll give my 2 cents if you would like.
So I am just a person that's been through therapy. And I'm still in therapy. I incorporate what I learned and with my characters and stuff. So I'm not really super informed as like, you know, Liz would be, but I think it's my recurring thoughts. If I pay attention to what's intrusive thoughts,
Yes.
who am I talking to when I feel anxious afterwards? Like, is there a direct correlation? Does my body and my nervous system already say, hey, this situation is unsafe, and my mind doesn't really remember, but my body does. And so kind of like, okay, these are the events that happened right before I felt like this.
Yes.
And this is who was around and all that. And just kind of I have a mental note. I think it's probably better if you write it down, but I am way too impatient for that. Like, oh, that means I have to go get a notebook and I got to go write it down. But like, just being trying to work on awareness and mindfulness. And the
Hmm.
moment that I'm not being mindful and in the moment, those are the times that I miss that something's starting to upset me or empty my bucket.
I love that. I love that. I love that. And I love when insights like that come from folks who are not in the, we'll say, the wellness field, because like that's that practical application, right? Like it's easy for someone on the other side to say like these are the things, but like that's what it looks like in action. 1000% paying attention to how do you feel when someone is around or when you're doing an activity? Like, do you feel like, oh my gosh, I can do this over and over. I can do this for hours, and just keep going. Do you feel like I can't wait till this conversation's over, or like, oh, I gotta avoid this person? Paying attention and not just writing it off of like you're a bad person, you're just tired, you're just introverted. No, like listen to the signs that your body gives. And so start to reflect and say, when did you feel the most creative? When did you feel the most fulfilled? Those are the things that fill you. And think about, when did you just feel like, oh, I need a vacation from my vacation? Like think about what that felt like.
I had a spark.
Go for it.
And I just lost it. I was like, wait, I had it. Because I got really excited there for a second, and it was something that we might be able to come back to. I apologize.
That is okay. Listen, I did that in session the other day. I'm like, I was gonna say something and I forgot, and like it'll come back.
Oh, that's what it is. Okay. So don't fall into the trap of, I should be over this by now. This happened a couple
Oh,
weeks ago, so it's not that thing, because that is something that we kind of gaslight ourselves with sometimes. So just definitely pay attention to those things. If it was a major event or something that really dysregulated you, made you feel like real
mm-hmm.
awful, whatever it was, like it doesn't just go away. Like I'm still not okay about almost losing my husband, and that happened in
Mm-hmm.
the middle of the summer. So there is no timeline on how you are affected, and just being mindful of that. Don't think, oh, enough time's gone by, it can't be
Right.
that.
1000%, because as you become in a safer space to deal with stuff, more things will come up. Like people like, well, I lost this person years ago. It may not have been safe to
Mhm.
process then. Like now you may be in a place where it's like your body can say like, hey, remember that thing that happened 20 years ago? I want to deal with that now. And so like
Mhm.
listening to that and honoring that, I think is a beautiful lesson and segues really nicely into navigating relationships through storms. I think social media has romanticized relationships, and
Mhm.
books, while wonderful, have romanticized like you're going to find your person and you're never going to have a problem and all of these things. And relationships are really grown through conflict. It helps you
Yep.
to grow, it reveals things, and it's what you do in that conflict. And I love that your books are like about real people in real situations, and like they're really
Oh,
great. Like if you're like a wellness provider, like these are really great books to recommend to clients who are struggling, because they are real. Like there's times where you don't feel like you're worthy of a relationship, even if this person is doing all the right things to hold space. That's a negative loop that you have to get over. And I love that you highlight that. Um, what how was that writing about navigating relationships through storms? How was that for you?
it was pretty cool because I navigated a long distance relationship for 2 years before my husband and I got married. Like we lived on opposite sides of the United States, so it's cool to
Really?
revisit. Yeah, so it's really cool to revisit the beginning of my relationship with Connor and Lucy, where he's in Montana, she's in London. I'm like, oh, I remember exactly what that was like. And so
Yay.
and also because he's been deployed before, it's like I also know what it's like to be in totally different time zones and how tricky that can be and stressful.
Mhm.
And it's definitely not the same, but it was neat to revisit that. And also I remember there were times where I, right in the beginning of our marriage, I moved from Florida to California, left all my family behind, and it was like that was the moment my whole body was like, and my brain told me, you have to deal with all of your trauma right now. You're going to feel all of it all at once, everything that's ever happened. And I was a mess, and that was the first time I was like, okay, I'm going to go to therapy, and this is what I want to do so that I can be in a healthy relationship with him, and I can you know I really wanted to be the best I could be before I had kids. And
Yeah,
I think
yeah.
I realized that I put a way too high expectation of where I needed to be at. Like that's not real. People aren't like going through my life like I found my peace forever.
Right. Oh, I love that. Right. Peace is not forever, but it's
Yeah.
always, you can find it forever. You can always go back and find it. Yeah.
And I just
Mm-hmm.
thought I would be able to be like, ooh, I'm going to be the most, solid person
Never
that's just
gonna yell
yeah,
at my kids.
no,
Always gonna be calm.
so patient. I'm never gonna raise my voice. Um,
Right. 1000%.
a cruel thing
One.
to put onto myself. Like that was not kind of myself, like younger me to say you're gonna be this way. But
I love
um
that.
I but because I was all these things were resurfacing, there were times where I felt just like Lucy, like, oh my gosh, I'm going through so much. I'm crying, I'm struggling with this, and this is a lot that he is going through this with me. And he,
Mm-hmm.
has always been a very much like a Connor, very steady, very grounding. Um, and I mean, not always, nobody's perfect, but we
But
all
like
have
that's,
like our limits, right?
yeah, but
It's
that's
real.
real. Yeah, and I think I love that too, like in book one, because we get to see Connor be a real person where sometimes you want to shake him just as much as you want to shake Lucy. And like that is so right, like it's so real. And I love that. Um and kind of thinking, yes, we wrap things up. You have an audiobook of book one in motion. Anything that you can or want to share about that?
I'm really excited about that. I first apologize. I do want to wrap up like 100% revisiting storms and relationships has been wonderful. That was like basically all I was trying to say about that. And then the audiobook is the most exciting news I was able to announce before the new year because
Yes.
you get to hear your characters come to life, which is exciting. You have an opportunity to reach a whole new audience because a lot
Yes.
of people don't read anymore because I get that. I mostly consume audiobooks because I'm
Mm-hmm.
trained.
Mm-hmm.
And then just Ava Monroe and PG Hammock are going to be narrating as Lucy and Connor. And recording starts in tentatively March of 2026. So it's going to
Nice.
be so exciting to see them come to life. And I'll continue to keep you guys updated on my social media pages for sure.
We are very excited for you and can't wait for more updates. And thinking about writing sequels and reviews and all of this stuff, what are kind of like what's in your like go-to toolkit for when you write your next book, your next sequel, your next series? Like what is going to be in that so that way you attack it the most creatively and the most wellness as possible?
I'm going to lead with forgiveness first. And when life happens, it's okay. It's okay
Yes.
that it's getting put off. No one else has a timeline. I haven't announced a timeline, and avoiding announcing timelines is really important because that gives you that time and grace. I also have established a new routine where I light a candle when I'm going to sit down and be creative. And it's kind of like a new trigger, and it's a scent that I really
Love
like
that.
and make me feel good. So I like to fill my cup right before I dive into something. And I decided to do that today before we started this podcast. And just making sure I've eaten
Yes.
before I sit down and create because I think that's really important. I made that mistake now. And just remembering that this is fun and it's a community experience, and I have those safeguards in place where I can have people read it before I release it so I can feel secure that this is where
Yes.
the book needs to be and have the reassurance that like I don't need to panic once I hit publish.
Oh,
So
I love that. I love that. And I'm gonna piggyback on, you know, having fun, right? Like all of these things are about having fun, right? Whether it's a candle, whether it's having a snack, but like to bring in a little bit of that fun and that playfulness because we're playing with characters, we're playing with stories, and for me, that helps to trigger that don't put so much pressure. I think, that routine in those early stages of like, okay, light the candle, do this are very important when you are starting a project. Because for me, up until about that 5 to 10,000 words, I'm just like, I don't like this. What am I doing? I hate this. So having that routine helps me be in there and not avoid those early words. Um, and then like having a community, like it's really great to be like, can you read this, am I on the right track, do you like this? It really helps those when the voices get really loud, and so I love just that community. So awesome.
yeah.
I'm going to do one last call out as we wrap things up as far as questions, comments, concerns. Listen, we will read them in the chat if you have them, but just while folks are typing or thinking about questions, any announcements? We are at the time of this taping, we are like, y'all, we are like a week from Christmas, which means 2 weeks from
Mhm.
the end of this year. I don't know where it went, but any announcements for this year or upcoming for 2026 you want us to know about?
So I did announce in at the end of book one that I wanted to do a Sam um, book for book
Yes.
three. And I am so excited to dive into that. However, I want people to know that I'm not just doing contemporary romance. So I'm going to take a break from the White River series and dive into like a urban fantasy romance like book. I don't think I almost said series. I don't know if it's going to be a series, but right now it's a one shot book. And I have several ideas and started books where we have like either vampires, a were-tiger, a
Oh,
dystopian
where
society.
Tiger? Oh my
Yeah.
God.
I was like, ooh, a little something different. Um, and so that way I can establish myself a lot like Rebecca Yarros is someone I really look up to, and she does contemporary and fantasy romance, but throughout everything she's romance. And so I'm like, that's
Mm-hmm.
what I want to be. That's how I identify, because I love all the romance stories, no matter the setting or how realistic
Mm,
the world is, but we'll always have heart driven, real issues inside of whatever setting we're going to dive into, and
I
real
love that.
a message with a purpose. So yeah, I'm excited to dive into that next year.
That sounds very exciting. And like, listen, you have a lifelong ARC reader, beta reader if you want one.
Yay, I love
I'm
you.
so excited.
I my favorite is like when you just send me a reaction as you're reading. Like that's my bread and butter. Like it just fills me up for the whole day. I'm like, yay.
Yay! I listen, and like y'all, I love that about having like close connections with authors, because I'm a reader first writer. Okay, I am a reader. I get it. I want you to know, like, this is how I'm feeling. Like, oh my God, I'm so mad. Oh my God, I'm crying. Oh my, like, I love that, and I love when stories make us feel, because like that's the point of them, right? They should make
Mhm.
us feel, and I love that you leaned into that and you created these characters that wherever you put them, we want to see them, and I love that.
I feel the same way about your characters and your books and your writing. Like I cannot tell people enough how much I love Lyra. And I just like I want her to be my friend in real life. I want her to exist somewhere in the world where I can just go meet her and go hang out with her, and just even just if I get to sit back and watch her talking to people, like it would be fantastic. Like I just adore her.
Oh, that makes me smile. Oh my gosh. On that note, let's y'all. Okay, so I'm gonna give you a little update. So I thought I was going to start writing book three for Lyra in January. Can I
Mhm.
tell you, she was all up in my dreams one day this week. I swear to you, it was. I just kept seeing that beginning scene over and over and over, and I remember saying, "Fine, I will write it in the morning." And it was the most annoying thing, but the most Lyra thing to show up in my dreams as a book about dreams. And so when we
That's
say
so
let the
perfect.
characters lead, right? Let the characters lead.
Yes, and they do that through the whole book, and that's kind of how you know when to finish, right? Because the
Yeah.
characters are
Yes.
done. They're like, we feel good at the end of this.
Mm-hmm.
And yes, there's untouched stuff, but we're going to save that for the next
Mm-hmm.
story, the next book. And I think that's a beautiful thing. And I do know an author who doesn't connect with the characters in that same way, and they aren't able to connect with that, like the characters lead. It's them, and I'm like, well,
Mm-hmm.
that's still beautiful. Like you can connect and write in a logical step and have your plan and actually follow it. I cannot follow my plan ever. So I think that's admirable and amazing. So however you write, and if the character driven writing doesn't connect with you, there's still so many other ways to tackle the beast. You know?
I love that, because again, even though I wish I could write like that, I can't identify that. But
Right.
there is space for everyone. And like,
Mhm.
from this conversation, what they say, take the meat, leave the bones. Take what
Mhm.
works for you and leave the rest.
Yes.
JS, this has been amazing. Y'all make sure to check out the episode show notes if you are listening on a podcast listening platform. It will have everything on, the books and everything that JS is doing. Again, if you would
Um,
like your book, product, service shouted out, please fill out the sponsorship form that is in the link tree, and we will discuss it on the next live episode. Any final words, JS, before we end for today?
Yay! I just want to say, um, Liz, you are such an incredible supporter, motivator. You put so much positivity out in the world, and I take all of your. So I know you're here because you're a fan of Liz too, but please keep sharing her stuff and what she's doing and supporting her in those ways by liking a post, putting it on your story
Yeah,
if it resonates with you. Send her a comment too or message her. She's so ready and here for it, right? So yeah.
1000%. Oh, like heart emojis, all the things.
Oh,
Absolutely, y'all. Okay, y'all. we are ending in positivity, so make sure you spread that to someone else's day today. We will catch you on the next episode. And if you would like to be a guest, please fill out the interest form and we'll be chatting with you in 2026. Take
Happy
care.
New Year!
Happy New Year. Bye.